So I've been doing a fair bit of pack content recently, like integrating packs for Unreal into games and whatnot, and this is a recurring problem that I continually come across that I wanted to talk about. So this is like a well-known zombie pack for Unreal. It's good quality content, right? Can't fault the content itself, it's quite good, but the issue are the goddamn materials, right? So these materials are all identical, right? There's a base color, normal, and occlusion roughness and metallic maps, right? In any case where all of your materials share the exact same material setup, or damn near close to it, you should not be creating base materials like this for every single one. You shouldn't be doing this, right? So you can see like these are all just kind of variants on the exact same material, and if I go to the cloth top folder, these are probably all going to be variants on the exact same occlusion, roughness, and metallic normal diffuse shader, right? Every single time, they're all going to be the same. All of these should be material instances like this, right? Subclassed to a master material up here, right? So you make like a shared folder or something, or a common folder, do your material, chuck that in there. Why do you do this? So there's a few reasons to do this. This master material is essentially like shader source code, right? You can look at this as if it's shader source code, okay? If I go back to the body content here, these are essentially configuration files that match the source code. So you can see they use the original shader file, and all they do is specify a couple texture overrides. That's it. And if you don't know, the way that you do that is in your original source texture, you convert this object to parameter. So if you right click, there'll be like a convert to parameter button. You give it a name here, and then from then on, you simply right click this and go create material instance. And that will create an MI, a material instance, which subclasses the original. So these are like little config files that tell the computer how to execute this code. Okay, so why does that matter, right? Basically, these materials on their own require full compilation into a fully unpacked shader on their own, right? So when you package, if you've got thousands of these, you're going to get, shader compilation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So that's annoying. It increases the amount of time it takes to package. It also increases like the time, the memory consideration of this as well, because this is a full shader program that needs to like be handled by the computer, whereas this is a very lightweight version of the exact same program, which just tells it to override some values, right? The only difference between the two really is that this only changes parameters, right? This can't actually change the way that the source code is like ran, that sort of thing. These are basically free to compile and to store in memory at runtime. There's a little bit of a cost, but it's pretty cheap. These are not. These not so much. Not only that, if I want to render like, many zombies, or this is probably more of a consideration in environment art, but if I want to render many environment props and they all share the exact same like shader with the same, they all share the same parent shader and they're all using material instances that are subclassed to the parent shader, then the actual CPU work is mitigated by on the draw calls to switch between rendering each of these little things. So if you have like a barrel over here and a skyscraper over here and a wooden plank over here, yes, they're all going to be separate draw calls, but the state change between those draw calls is actually very low, right? And so therefore the cost of those draw calls is also very low. So not all draw calls are created the same. 500 draw calls here is not the same as 500 draw calls in a different video game, right? In terms of performance, like in terms of runtime performance and actually drawing them, the material instance version versus the original master material version, they are the same. They're basic. I'm pretty sure they're identical in terms of like GPU cost, but the MI material instance versions are slightly cheaper in terms of the CPU. Now, slightly doesn't sound like a big problem, but it is a big problem because, even a 10% speed up is substantial, right, over the course of an entire frame, when you're talking about all of the environment props or all of the characters in the game or all of the items in the game, right? They're also, like, Unreal games have this chronic issue of running into memory problems because it's incredibly easy to make a really memory unoptimized Unreal game. And this is another instance where that can occur, right? Because unless you're using material instances, if you've got these unique shaders being compiled for every single master material copy, then your memory is now going to inflate because like the computer needs to keep track of and store all of those individual shader programs, right? So this is the best practice, just without exception, right? There is no exception to this rule, thankfully. If they can all be rendered in the exact same way, and for characters that are wearing the same types of clothing, that have the same types of features, and in this case, they're very simple. It's just every character has a color, a normal, and an occlusion roughness map, occlusion roughness metallic map. These are all the same. In this case, there should be only one master material file, and every single other material used to render this content should subclass that as a material instance without exception, right? Just get into the habit of doing it. It's not even that hard. This is a problem that you see everywhere all over the Unreal Marketplace. I don't know why people keep doing this. It's even more work as well to create these material files and drag stuff in. So this one's a good example of maybe when you wouldn't do this, right? Because there's a slight difference between just the standard ORM normal workflow. This one actually has like a blend in it. But what's probably in your best interest is just to put this blend overlay, because this is quite a simple set of operations here, into the base material and just call it a day and have this functionality be in everything, even the ones that don't necessarily need it. Now, you don't want to do that too much because then you're just kind of like creating a different problem. But in the worst case, you would make a variant for clothing that has the blend overlay color version, right? You would make a second master material for those, and then anything that uses that would be subclassed to that through a material instance, right? But yeah, just get into the habit of doing it. It's the way that the engine's designed. You know, there's a reason why Unreal games have such a reputation for running awfully, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the engine. It's just because people haven't read the manual and there's just user error everywhere, right? So make sure you get into this habit. Use your material instances and subclass a main master material, and keep those master materials organized and change them very rarely, right? Iron them out early in your game and then just roll with them. You can make changes, it's not a problem. Just don't do this where everything has like its own copy of every material, because then unfortunately someone like me has to go through and clean all this up, and it's really frustrating because it happens all the time. All right, thank you.